The room is dark, you're in bed, beneath the covers, eyes closed. Your breathing slows, your muscles relax. And then, just as you're about to slip under, a face flickers in your mind, or a voice calls your name, or you feel a sudden jolt as if you're falling through the mattress. This isn't a dream, you're still aware of the pillow beneath your head, the sound of your own heartbeat, the weight of the blanket, but something strange is happening. You're partly awake, yet partly somewhere else. This moment is not just a prelude to sleep, but a doorway to a different state of consciousness. A state your brain enters every single night, yet few people ever pause to notice or question it. Here's the central question: what exactly is hypnagogia, and why does your brain produce these vivid, dreamlike sensations while you're still partly conscious? In 1987, psychologist Andreas Mavromatis at Brunel University published one of the first comprehensive studies on this phenomenon. He described hypnagogia as a distinct state, not sleep, not waking, but a unique transitional phase where your mind can generate hallucinatory experiences while you remain aware of your surroundings. Mavromatis found that this state is marked by specific brainwave patterns. Your EEG shows a mix of alpha waves, typical of relaxed wakefulness, and theta waves, the slower rhythm of early sleep. You are, quite literally, in between. For you, this means you've likely entered hypnagogia hundreds of times without ever realizing it. Each night, as you drift off, your brain briefly operates in a mode that allows images, sounds, and sensations to arise spontaneously, without the full logic of waking thought, but also without the loss of awareness that comes with deep sleep. This transitional phase typically lasts anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes, and its intensity varies from night to night. Unlike REM sleep, which occurs later and involves paralysis, hypnagogia leaves you capable of movement. You can even open your eyes and snap out of it. But what exactly is happening in your brain during this transition? Jump to 2001. Psychologist James Alan Cheyne at the University of Waterloo published a study on hypnagogic imagery. He surveyed over 400 people and found that about 70% report experiencing visual images during the sleep onset period: faces, geometric patterns, landscapes. Roughly 30% hear sounds, often fragments of speech or their own name, and about 20% feel a physical sensation like floating, falling, or even a presence in the room. Your brain, Cheyne argues, is not creating these out of nothing. It's pulling from your memory. Neural patterns stored throughout the day are being replayed and combined in unusual ways. That face you saw, it might be a blend of several faces you glimpsed but never consciously noticed. That voice, a fragment of a conversation your ears caught but your mind ignored. You are seeing the ghost of your own perception, but why does your brain do this? Cheyne also identified a particularly intriguing phenomenon: the sensed presence. In his surveys, roughly 10% of hypnagogic experiences involve a distinct feeling that someone or something is nearby even when no one is there. This presence is often perceived as malevolent but can be neutral. Cheyne links it to a disruption in your body's schema. As your brain relaxes its monitoring of your body, it may misinterpret proprioceptive signals as coming from an external agent. For you, this means that if you've ever felt a presence in your bedroom just before sleep, you were likely experiencing hypnagogia, not a ghost. Your own brain generated that feeling from within. Now let's examine the neural mechanism more deeply. In 2003, sleep researchers Luigi De Gennaro and Michele Ferrara at the University of Bologna studied the transition from wakefulness to sleep using EEG. They found that the hypnagogic period is characterized by a gradual decrease in alpha power and an increase in theta power. Crucially, this transition is not smooth, it oscillates. Your brain briefly slips into theta, then jerks back to alpha. This back and forth is why you might experience a sudden jolt, a hypnic jerk. Your brain is momentarily confused about what state it's in. For a split second, your body interprets the drop in muscle tone as falling and jerks awake. For you, this means that every time you startle yourself awake just as you're drifting off, it's not random. It's your brain testing the boundary between consciousness and unconsciousness. In fact, these oscillations can be observed in EEG recordings as alternating periods of alpha and theta activity lasting just a few seconds each. Hypnic jerks occur in up to 70% of the general population, often accompanied by a feeling of falling or a loud internal noise. Now the complication. Not all researchers agree that hypnagogia is a special state. Dr. Robert Stickgold, a sleep researcher at Harvard Medical School, has argued that these experiences are just fragments of REM-like neural activity occurring in an otherwise ordinary drowsy brain. In his 2005 review, Stickgold suggested that hypnagogic imagery might be simply the brain's attempt to make sense of random neural noise as it disengages from sensory input. In other words, you're not entering a gateway, your brain is just shutting down, and what you perceive is the static of the shutdown process. This would explain why the images are often banal or fragmentary, not like full-blown dreams. It's a plausible counter, hypnagogia as a byproduct, not a special phenomenon. Another line of evidence, sleep onset is often accompanied by microsleeps, brief seconds of sleep that can produce hallucinatory content even during the day. But even Stickgold's explanation doesn't fully satisfy. Mavromatis noted that hypnagogic imagery is often multimodal, sounds, visual, and tactile synchronized, which is rare in random neural noise. Moreover, the consistency of experiences across people, the feeling of a presence, the hearing of one's name, suggests a structured process, not mere noise. One piece remains unexplained. Why do these specific sensations recur across cultures and individuals? It may be that hypnagogia is more than a shutdown. It may be a state with its own rules, a brief window where your brain's associative network runs free while your reality-checking system is offline. What is known is that this phase lasts only a few minutes. What is not known is why your brain evolved to produce these fleeting hallucinations at all. Some researchers propose it might serve a creative function. Many artists and inventors have reported hypnagogic inspiration. So next time you lie down and that face appears or that voice calls, pause. You are not falling asleep, you are entering the hypnagogic threshold, a place where your mind is both observer and creator. And what might be waiting there just out of reach is still a question science hasn't fully answered.